Hello, everybody. It is your Professor Rocco, your boy, coming at you once again with another Age of Sigmar video. I love how I say that, though. I only cover Age of Sigmar at the moment. One day, who knows? But, class, today we shall be talking about an esteemed topic for this AoS. I'm going to say general class, because I feel like this is a topic that everybody should learn about and know. That's how strongly I feel about this is and really it's we're going to be talking about allies and coalition units today and when to bring them into your army. All right, this was a request from Alexander the Rue Rider, also known as Frank, who will be actually my teammate at the boys team event in upstate New York coming up in about a month here as we prepare for all our stuff. And it's something where I feel strongly about this. And what I feel strongly about is when most people talk about this, they give a tier list, they look at like the tournament data, but they don't actually tell you and teach you why these things get picked, just like they get picked. It's like, oh yeah, there's Gotreks everywhere. He's just very killy. You're like, okay, but why? And it is my job as a professor to teach you to have the critical thinking skills that go along with this, which is why you're all here, is to learn the tactics and learn the thinking behind everything. And I want to impart that onto you. So just in general, here we go. Now, what are allies and coalition units, Rocco? All right, now follow me, camera guy. So an ally. At the back of your book, I have a Stormcast Eternals battle tome right here. The very, very, very back. You see that little thing there? I'm not zooming in. You have battle tomes. It is actually a list of allies that are friendly with your faction of choice, where you can bring units in. And depending on the game mode you play, there's certain restrictions. You know, generally match play, it's 1 out of every 4 of your units can be an ally, and you can have a total of 400 points of your army be allies. You know, that's great. Coalition units, basically the same thing, except when they come into your army, they also generally get your keywords. This is really prominent in chaos factions all over. There's ways to soup in stuff. You also see this prominently in Cities of Sigmar, which, again, also a thing I play that I can speak from experience from, which is why I can translate that to chaos players. Because even though I'm an order player, I play in the same kind of sandbox that they do and how to make armies. So, like a coalition unit for me is generally it's a unit that's friendly with my army. It cannot be an ally because as a coalition member, it can just be in my army. It doesn't get to be battle line in my army, but I do get the benefits of their units being there. There's times like with my Living City army in particular, I love fulminators. It's been known on this channel now. It's been known about me internationally in Warhammer. I am a fulminator stan. I'll bring them into my armies. And the reason why I do that as a coalition unit in Cities of Sigmar is I like, initially I liked the defensive capability they had because they were great into a shooting meta and they could do damage. Now in this new book, they lost a lot of the stuff that made them great into a shooting meta defensively, but that doesn't necessarily matter when they got all the extra attacks and damage to just take down a Mega Gargan on their own. So now they're a DPS check for me. And that's one of the things here. When why would you take units that have this 1 in 4 restriction, or sometimes it's a 2 in 4 restriction for some coalition stuff? It depends on your army and your faction. We're talking generally here. Why, Rocco, would I ever want to bring some of these things? And we look at the Gotreks here of the world, where they break some of these rules. Because it's over 400 points, it's over any kind of a point limit, but you can't take anything else if you take a Gotrek in an order army. What do you get for that? Gotrek is an answer to the question of, I need to do a lot of damage to a unit at a time and be survivable enough to do that. I need a hammer that can just wail on whatever is on the other side. And you take a Gotrek. I need a tech piece that my army does not bring to itself. I'm a chaos player. Well, if I can bring in a Khorne Demon Prince, or I can bring in a bunch of cockatrices to go out and say do a bunch of mortal wounds that my army doesn't necessarily have for shooting attacks, or again the Khorne Demon Prince with the Bloodstick Ground that halves the charges of my opponent at me for a command point in a big 18-inch aura to protect my vulnerable army. That is amazing. And you look for these things, it's like, okay, I've exhausted everything in my battle tome. I just don't have a teleport. And I watched Rocco's last video on how to play that one battle plan, and I don't necessarily have the movement shenanigans to just even put bodies of troops onto the points to stop my opponent from walking onto them, to claim them. What do I do? Where can I look for something like this? And generally, we look outside the army to either what our allies could be, where Lumineth Realm Lords, their one ally is Deepkin. It isn't reciprocal, but you know what? Deepkin generally have access to every other type of elf. And if I'm a Deepkin player, maybe I'm looking at the Shadow Stalkers from the Daughters of Cain, that have a teleport. If I'm Cities of Sigmar, maybe I'm playing Living City, like I love, and I, as a coalition, can have access to Sylvaneth, and they have Tree Revenants that can teleport. It's you're looking for things where you ask a question. How can my army handle this particular scenario if it comes up in a game? And your army says, I got nothing. That is when you look for these allies and these coalition units. And also, for a long time in 2nd edition, mercenaries. And in 3rd edition, there's still the, Mega Gargants live on as mercenaries, and there's some argument about whether the Flesh Eater Courts and the Fire Slayers could be mercenaries. That's an argument for other people. We're not here for that. We don't argue about that here in my part of the internet. Y'all can argue about it in the comments. But really, we're looking at Mega Gargants for some of these armies that have been popping up lately. Like a lot of the Death factions, they'll take whatever the dude in the cowl is. I don't know if he's Big Drog Fort Kika or Matt Grunnock One Eye. I don't remember which one it is. But it's one of those named Mega Gargants. And the question being asked is, I don't have a monster that is able to live long enough and can do enough damage in this age of DPS checks. Because everyone's gearing up to kill a Mega Gargant, right? Everyone. They're a popular army. They're fun to play. And that's the question being asked. If I can't beat them, how do I join them? Well, you bring a Mega Gargant. Some armies, like Nighthaunt, cannot, their biggest thing is a Mourngul, which is a Forge World model you can't even get half the time. Or what? Lady Olander, who has 8 wounds. There's a Black Coach, but that's not a hero. And if you're looking for a big hero monster that can actually put out some hurt and not die immediately, you don't have an answer to that. At the time of recording this, Nagash isn't something you can coalition in or bring in as an ally to them. What you do have access to is the Mega Gargant Mercenary for the Death factions. That also can go into Flesh Eater Courts, as we've seen, where it is a big, scary piece that in a Flesh Eater Courts army, you know what? It takes the pressure off of your Abhorrent Ghoul King on Terrorgeist to carry the load. Because the Ghoul King on Terrorgeist will do the damage, but then generally it dies right after, unless you get a double turn and get lucky. What we're trying to do here with these allies and these coalition units, we're trying to remove the you have to get lucky part out of the equation. Because if we need to rely on a dice roll in order to win the game, we are going to not have a good time. Because we need to win in the movement phase. That's how you play Age of Sigmar, is the movement phase. And if all my stuff relies on me getting a double turn, my plan's a little bit flawed. But if I bring in something like a Mega Gargant that everyone's going to be, freaking out and trying to kill, that allows my Terrorgeist to be able to move around unimpeded, I have two major melee threats. If they kill my Terrorgeist, they don't have enough damage to kill the Gargant. If they swing at the Gargant, they probably don't have enough damage to kill the Terrorgeist. And most importantly, there's a chance they just don't kill the Gargant, and then I've got a Mega Gargant and a Terrorgeist. Now this is the thing with Gotrek and all these order armies, with his points cost being like 400 something right now. Then you see him going into Daughters of Cain's army with Marathi. It's like, who do you kill first? And then there's also 10 to 15 bow snakes. Those are three serious major threats, and Big Marathi, Gotrek, heck, Little Marathi in that. Marathi Cain is scary in her own right. And then you throw in the bow snakes. You got all these threats in an army that's generally a glass cannon, and a lot of them are a lot more durable than you think they are. And they have the ability to go around the board and power project. And this is why Gotrek is seeing his way in every order army, is because it gives someone that big melee beat stick. And this is where Mega Gargant as mercenaries starts to even the playing field for destruction, death, and chaos factions. And it's not going to always be an easy thing. Some armies aren't even going to need allies. Like, you can have Deepkin without a Gotrek and still do all right. You're shooting for like a 4-1, 3-2 if the field's really rough. Gotrek might give you that little bit extra, but people are learning as these things keep getting introduced into your games. People are going to learn how to play against them. Like, a way to shut down Gotrek is, he moves so slow. You encircle him with a bunch of cheap units you don't care about. Like a Free Guild Guard, a 10-man pack of Free Guild Guard for like 80 some odd points. And you just layer that around him so he just can only kill them, and then you just ignore him. You throw Soul Snare Shackles around him so he can't charge. You have a bunch of attacks that are 1 damage attacks, and you just kill him by weight of dice, because it's great that he has a 3-up ward save, but every 1 and 2 goes at you, and it's great that he reduces damage of multi-damage attacks. Like, if I had a damage 3 attack come at him, his special little rule makes that a 1 damage attack. Great, you have to make 40 armor saves right now at neg 1 run 1 damage. Then you're probably going to be making 20 some odd ward saves on a 3-up. And statistically, I'm going to start whittling you down throughout the game to kill you. If I can do that quickly, that's 400 points of your big scary thing gone. But that also means the rest of your army is untouched. And hopefully you have enough of an army that Gotrek's sacrifice was worth it. And you weren't just relying on Gotrek to table me. Some armies, that doesn't happen. When Gotrek was 500 some odd points, ooh, and then there's some armies where these allies and these coalition troops are just so important to you, where you need them to survive, like in some of these chaos factions. No one's gonna fault you for going Blades of Corn, and you've got a corn marked demon prince and a corn marked the priest riding the war shrine there. You know what? To give you all those buffs to all your corn units. No one's gonna fault you for that, because that's a really cool piece. No one's gonna fault you for doing that. Some Bloodthirsters, Archeon, because he's not actually Blades of Corn either, funny enough. But, he can go into a Corn army, and then you get your minimum bit of Blood Reavers for your battle line, and that's a really cool and competitive army. That's actually really compelling, where it's Archeon bringing all the different tribesmen together to go out and make a push into the world. You can tell a story off of that. You can go out and say, yeah, I'm bringing in all these undivided harpies in because to whatever army, or you're bringing in these beastmen in to go out and you're building up some kind of a thing. I don't know what that thing is. Maybe it's this big push to go and have your Chaos Lord go onto the path to glory to try to be a demon prince. And you've got these cool ways to tell these stories with these coalition units and these allies, where it's such desperate straits for the Lumineth Realm Lords, they have pleaded to the sea spirits, and then an Eidolon of Mathland shows up. That's the spell, the aspect of the sea, trying to see like if there's some way to help their cousins and reconnect and try to move on past all the hurt and pain that Teclis has caused the Deepkin. You know, maybe because there are some Deepkin looking to reconnect, and you can tell that story. You know, maybe the mountain cows are a little bit pricey, and you see the turtle, Shelly baby girl, sitting over my shoulder there. You know, she's out there with her 2-up armor save. She's got a shooting attack that's decent, great in combat. Maybe that fits you for what you need to fill in that role that your army can't provide. And that's all we're trying to do here. It's just we're looking at our armies and going, I have this problem in the meta. How do I deal with it? My army can't, but I have an ally that can, or I can bring in a coalition member of something that can help me out. And like Stormcast recently, until all of these the Vigilors and the Judicators got better, if I was bringing shooting, it was going to be like a bunch of ballistas or long strikes, or I could bring in Sages of Sigmar units. That question kind of got resolved on its own now that Stormcast have kind of gotten their new book and they're a bit better. But that's still saying I could bring in Shadow Warriors. I can bring in probably my favorite and most underused piece is a Rune Priest. They're a Rune Lord. Dwarf. My one dwarf I've ever painted, his name is Ugni of Clan Wordhammer. And let me tell you, Ugni, he comes in with a +2 Unbind and Dispel. And given all the heroic actions you can do, you can give Ugni an extra Unbind and or Dispel, whatever one it is to stop your opponent from casting spells. I can't remember off the top of my head, and I don't think it's important enough for me to stop this video to go back and look it up. But for 100 points, he's a power pick. I can bring him in as a coalition unit, and anyone that can ally in Cities of Sigmar stuff he's a priest, my dear Ugni. You know what? For your army, because priests are universally, they know the 6-up ward prayer, and usually, if you bring in an ally, you cannot give them your spell lore. Some of the coalition stuff, it's a little bit dicey on whether you can or can't depending on your book. But I'm bringing Ugni for the Unbinds, and if he's able to just generically use the 6-up prayer to heal my dude, not heal my dudes, but to give me a 6-up ward save, or he's using Smite to knock off the other dude's priest, I'm doing all right. That's just icing on the cake. For a long time, Knight and Canners from Stormcast used to actually see a lot of service outside of Stormcast because of their once per game auto unbind. Skinks, for the longest time before Seraphon got the new book, were great allies for all the rules they had for how cheap they were. And they're honestly still okay as allies for Order armies. But, if you're looking for some way to expand your collection into maybe something else, or if your army currently is just lacking that little bit of something extra to a question you have in your local meta of, man, I need something to teleport, I need more movement, or I need more damage, I need more durability, that is where the answer can come from an ally or a coalition style unit into your army. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, share with your neighbors. If they don't understand Warhammer, well, we're a teaching channel. Maybe I can help that out too and spread the hobby around by you. And as I like to say at the end of all of my videos, class dismissed. Bye.